should give you a little background. I'd done this painting of George Buzz Burling, and I knew that Robert Hyndman had flown with Burling, so I wanted to meet Mr. Hyndman, or at least find out more about him. So the first place to go was Canada War Museum, which is the new war museum in Ottawa on the banks of the Ottawa River. It's a magnificent place, and this is kind of what it looks like. But almost the first thing you see when you get in there is a painting by Mr. Hyndman on the wall, and I knew this is the kind of artwork I wanted to do. Okay, but I think we should take you back to World War II. That's Mr. Hyndman on the left with Buck McNair, and this painting was done just 2 or 3 weeks before McNair was killed. So this is what Hyndman did in the war. Okay, well, I knew I had to meet Mr. Hyndman, so the thing to do was get in touch with him. I gave him a call, and last May he very generously allowed Casey and I to come out and visit him at his home in Old Chelsea. Yeah, that's just in the Gatineau Hills, just beyond Ottawa. So why don't we show you a little bit about what that visit was like. Okay, well, Mr. Hyndman lives in this beautiful old stone house, and the first thing that you see is this huge painting of Buzz Burling that now hangs in a Legion somewhere in Vancouver. And I sat there kind of transfixed for quite a while because I was just in kind of an awe of this painting. And he showed me a lot of other paintings around, and it was just kind of overwhelming at first because the quality was so great and he was so lucid and articulate.
But I was drawing all the time.
Yeah.
And and the most extraordinary thing happened during the war. I was flying Spitfires over France, and I was pursuing a MA-109.
Yeah.
And did get right, just quite close behind him. It was all this kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And at one point he threw his flaps down.
Uh-huh.
All about 300 miles an hour, and I just went right over the top of him and looked right down into his eyes, and I said, "Jesus, what am I going to do?" I had 1 second to make the decision, so I did that. I did a loop right in front of him or behind him, and he was down below, and I managed to get him after we on the way the second time around.
Wow.
Interesting and useful. Mm-hmm. If you know the way she's standing, and it done very quickly. I mean, maybe 15 minutes or something. And this one, this is the same. That's the pencil, and that's the charcoal.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we're just inside Mr. Hyndman's gallery here now, and I'm just going to pan around here with his permission because he said take anything you want, but I think he meant pictures, so I'm going to take advantage of that just to give you some idea of the breadth of the work he does and is still doing. And as you can see, he has some pretty good friends, pretty famous friends. Anyway, this is just a quick glance around the working part of the studio here and gives you an idea how much equipment you need to produce the kind of work that Mr. Hyndman produces. And this is a lot of light. It's nice because it's lit not only from the sides, but there's a skylight here, which of course makes it so much nicer. And this is what I find interesting, is the palette board, because it's basically a lesson in the colors you need for the type of portraiture that's being done here. Well, we bought one of Mr. Hyndman's paintings. Before we go on, I'd like to take you back to last May when we were first privileged to meet Mr. Hyndman. I asked him about George Buzz Burling, and for those of you who don't know, George Burling was probably the most famous Canadian fighter ace of World War II, and I'm privileged to know his brother Rick and Rick's wife Joan and their family. And Buzz Burling in his time was as famous, if not more famous, than Wayne Gretzky. He was on the cover of Maclean's magazine, and he went across the country on bond tours. Very famous man. And George Burling and Robert Hyndman flew together in the 412 Squadron in Biggin Hill in south of England in 1943. So I asked Mr. Hyndman to maybe reflect a little bit on his memories of George Buzz Burling.
Yeah, so your memories of George where he was kind of disillusioned and...
No, I liked the guy. We used to often go up to London in the evening from Biggin Hill.
Uh-huh.
And coming back on the bus with him, we'd chat about this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, he didn't fit in very closely with the gang.
Yeah.
I was really sorry when he had to come back to Montreal.
Did you see him after the war at all, or did you ever talk to him after the war?
Well, and then shortly after that, he had a great girlfriend down in
Vivi.
Whatever her name was. She instigated the statue, the little...
I know, that's Vivi, I believe, isn't it?
I can't remember her name, but I was in touch with her quite often about the situation, and very, very, very sad.
This is a portrait of your father, right?
Supposed to be, yeah.
That's well.
Exactly like him now.
Okay, I'd just like to ask you about, can you tell me what colors you would use in your primary palette for the skin tones and the flesh tones and that?
When we get this over with,
Oh, actually, but for instance, you've got the colors, the veins and everything in his hands. What do you use for that?
well, there's usually a little bit of cool color, plus I'm not entirely happy about the hands here. He's holding a pipe, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I think it's very effective. I think you've got a nice three-dimensional effect on the hands and the pipe. Did he sit for that formally, or did you do it from a photograph?
Oh no, yeah, I wouldn't do that from a photograph. I think it's, if you're just fooling around. But no, God, no, I didn't do it. He posed for me.
Okay.
And we did it in the drawing room of a house that I guess that'll be about 40 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Your choice of a frame is just excellent.
amazing.
Yeah.
Who in your estimate, who's your favorite artist?
What's that?
Your favorite artist?
Golly, I don't know whether I have one. I think I could probably think about it and name about 10.
Okay.
So,
You just start up.
I don't have a very favorite one. I mean, I'm fond of the one of my father and mother, but I don't know.
No, I mean, which other artist do you admire most?
Augustus John.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit about him? Because I see there's a book over there about him on your...
Yeah, where is that book now?
It's right here.
Oh, yeah, that's a little book. I've got a big one like this too. It's out on loan right now. Oh, he's an amazing man.
Uh-huh.
You'd have to... I wangled a trip down to see him in his country home, he and his wife. This was a moment I will never forget. I was going into a gallery on Bond Street,
Uh-huh.
and there was a painting of Vincent Massey, our Governor General,
Yep.
by John, in the window. I said, holy mackerel. So I went in to ask him about it, and then I said on the way out, is there any means, and a nice man, the manager of the thing, is there any means I could get in touch with Mr. John? And he said, well, I can give you his address. I think, gee, that'd be wonderful. It was a little tiny town, sort of off from the trees, southeast of London, southwest. A place called Fordingbridge.
Uh-huh.
And actually, after I'd written him, I gave my phone number and I phoned him, and he said, if you really like to come down, I'll make a time. So we made a time, and he explained how to get there. We take one big train down to a fairly large city, and then get on a little putt train.
Yeah.
One of those goofy little things. Well, so I went down there, and as the train finally stopped, nobody on the platform, nobody anywhere. I got out and I said, well, Jesus, where do I go from here? You know, I had no idea. There wasn't a living soul. And so I walked down. You know, in England, as it is, they cut a hole in the middle of a station you walk through.
Yeah.
But I came to this and I said, well, I might as well walk down. Maybe there's a taxi or something. I turned the corner and looked down, and there was the great man waiting for me. Can you believe it?
You know, the same thing happened to us. The only thing is it happened last May and we came over to visit you. Same thing. So I know exactly how you felt.
I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it's like meeting Leonardo or something, you know.
Like I said, I know how you felt.
Yeah.
You have sumac along the sides there?
Yes, there are some sumac there.
Mm-hmm.
I like the old poem, and all the sumacs on. Who's the young lady, eh?
Is that your studio?
Really?
Mm-hmm.